Welcome back, part 3. So our elevons are dry right now, so let's pull the tape off and we'll start the next step. So here's what you do to kind of get the tape pulled off. The tape pulled off. I usually make like a little slit. Let's see if I can see this here. Usually make like a little slit right next to the tape. Just very slight. Don't go into the foam really. This just makes pulling the tape off easier because you're cutting the adhesive. Because if you don't, it'll grab the adhesive and it might mess up your whole goop hinge that you just did. Alright, so now that our goop hinges are done, let's move on to the next step. We're going to wire up our electronics. Well, not wire up, but we're going to lay out our electronics. Pretty important step here, and it gets pretty congested on this wing. So let's grab some of our stuff here. It's actually a lot of stuff. Right. So there's what we got. I have two battery options. I got a 450 and an 800 milliamp hour battery. I'm hoping to keep it light with the 450, but if I have to, I might have to use the 800 to get the CG correct. CG is very important on a wing if you guys do not know what that is. According to the manual, we're about 9.98 millimeters from the nose. So what ends up being, it's pretty close to where that spar is on the bottom, that cross spar. And if you hold your fingers there, this thing needs to balance. You see how tail heavy it is right now? That's because we don't have any electronics in it to balance it out. So right now, it should balance just like this on your fingers when it's CG'd. So yeah, let's lay out our electronics and kind of see where the heck we want to put them. There's no right or wrong place for these. I mean, servos generally, I'm going to use these servos. Generally with servos you kind of need them out farther. And I think on this build the manual suggests about out here. Kind of lined up with this center spar. And what I like to do too, since you're lined up with the center spar, you can run your servo lead right there. It looks a lot less protrusive versus if you had it up here and you had to run it straight across. It's going to go there. A lot of the times here too, is you can tape this stuff on to get it to kind of hold its position, and you can play with different mounting options to try to figure out your CG point. So I might actually start taping some stuff down actually just to show you how to CG the wing after you're done. So servo here. The tape will add some weight, so keep that in mind as you're laying your stuff out. Probably put this here, and I mean you can even lay out your servo leads how you're gonna have them too, so you can kind of get even the weight of this could throw off your CG. So I'm gonna try to keep this as close to where it's gonna be. Same with this other servo. Got some new tape here. I guess I can use. We'll use it. So yeah, we'll just coil up each of these servo leads kind of right where they're gonna go. So that's kind of like that. Do the motor next. I think the motor's gonna sit a little farther forward. Without cutting it, it sits a little loose in there. So we're gonna have to cut a little bit of a notch to get this in a little farther so it sits flat. Your ESC will probably go somewhere in this region. I'm just using a little Emax 20 amp ESC. I hope it's enough. If not, I'll just go to a 30 amp ESC. These quad ESCs are pretty small. And then what you have to do with that is run a little BEC. This is like a 2 or 3 amp adjustable BEC, so it's going to take battery voltage and convert it down to 5 volts. So they're really lightweight. It's what you need to do with these ones because we're using PWM receivers that need a 5 volt input to power on. Otherwise we don't have an option for 5 volts. VTX, I'm probably going to put on the opposite side of the receiver here. So I'm going to place that over here. That should work out okay. Put a little tape on this BEC and all that. So we got that. So then we got 2 options for batteries. We're going to try them both. And then I better put my wire on there too. And then I'm going to put my camera up front since that's where this is going to go. Try to put that as far forward as I can. Just make sure it's simulating how we're going to do it. Okay. Servos look pretty good. They're roughly in the right spot. Alright, so let's try this. We're going to try the 450 up front and we'll see if this CGs. So I'm going to find my CG lines on the bottom here. Roughly there. Holy crap. I think we're going to get it to CG. See how it's nose heavy? So now we can just move the battery back a little. Oh, we're super close. There it is, guys. CG achieved with this small battery. This is gonna be my lightweight build. Oh, once it moves, it'll throw your CG off. With this wing, CG is critical. I repeat, it is critical. If you do not get CG right, this will not fly right. So make sure you are CG'd correctly. All right, let's start making our pockets. So I'm going to lay some servos out roughly here. I think I'm going to actually lay them in conjunction to the, there's 2 ways to do servos, right? So you can do it parallel with how this hinges, or perpendicular I should say, to how this hinge goes. So you got your hinge line left to right, and then you got your servo line, which is the way it's going to pull your linkage. So you can do it pretty straight, which is probably the best way just because of the linkage geometry works out the best. Or you can do it streamlined like this, and you can have your linkage out here, but it's gonna pull it pulls your elevon to the left and right when you're going down and up. So what I'm gonna do probably is I'm gonna go straight back, just so I'm perpendicular with the elevon. And we're gonna grab my trusty pen here that doesn't work on foam real good. We're going to outline this. I always recommend going a little big on the servo horn area because I don't know where the horn is, but whatever. Your servo horn basically moves back and forth within here, and you don't want any restriction. So you always want to draw it a little bigger than it needs to be. At least in that general area. Alright, so we'll do the other side just like that one here. And make note, I'm using the corner, I'm kind of using the corner of this spot to put my servo ear, just so I know where to go. And that way it'll be the same on each side. Just lay your servo as nicely as you can. Alright, there we go, we got our servo pockets laid out. Those are done. Next, we'll do the receiver pocket. Make note of the length of your servo wires too. Make sure you're going to reach your receiver. This is a pretty small wing, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. But something like a spec wing, you kind of got to be mindful of it. Otherwise, you got to use servo extensions. It kind of sucks. So we'll just cut that over there. Might make this quite a bit longer just because I need to have room for my servo connectors. Servo connectors are going to plug in. You're going to need some space. So there you go. So you can kind of make it the same. You can utilize a servo connector to make your pocket. Alright, so there we got it. We got our pocket laid out. I think I got everything included except the camera. I'm going to cut out the camera at the end there. It's going to be a little bit more time intensive, I think, to get that set. So next, we're going to cut out our bays here. Where's my knife? So what you do to cut out your bays is you gotta basically outline this with your knife. And then after that, we're just gonna pull the foam out. Thinner knives help too. And then I just grab some pliers like this, and then you can kind of start you can just pull this foam out. There's other ways to do this that are prettier, but this works pretty quick and easy. Because you can make like a hot wire cutter, and you can kind of groove it out how you want, and it looks a little cleaner. This foam's pretty tough, you guys. This seems to be holding a lot better than the white foam. Okay, there's your little mess of stuff over there. Servo should fit about perfect now. Yep, perfect. We're gonna make this go. I'm gonna open this guy up as one big pocket. I'm just gonna make all my cuts right now, and then I'll work on pulling up all this stuff. We'll probably speed the process up for you guys here, just so you don't have to sit and watch me do all of it. Here you go, guys. Basically the gist of your electronics as my ESC falls out. I still gotta cut the nose and the battery bay out, so let me do that, I guess. Alright, so the motor mount needs to sit a little bit farther in. So what you need to do helps to kind of make a mark where your motor. The benefits of having kids. Helps make a mark where your motor is. That way you know where to make your cut. I'm just going to try to do a nice light mark on each side here. And then I can make a little slit. Not going to do much. Just enough to kind of get it so it's going to be flat in there. So we want this setup to be just so it's flat in there. Just like that. About like that. It allows the motor mount to seat in there better. Now we're nice and tight and we're up to them spars. Motor's plenty far back still. That's done. Alright, so now that all of our electronics are in, we're going to do the last step. Is going to be the camera mount. So, just going to have to draw some lines. And unfortunately, this camera's going to have to go back into the spar. So we're going to have to cut top and bottom spars to get this camera to fit. So, grab your knife, make it out far enough, and cut nice and vertically. Into your nose here. Okay, and then pretty much gonna have to chop spars right out of the gate here. Otherwise it will not sit. It's alright, not too hard to chop them. You're not going to really ruin the durability is not going to be ruined either. Should be good enough. Pull that material out of there. Some of that spar still there. Chop it up out of there. There it is. Alright. Camera mount is in. Sorry, it took some finagling to get it to work, but we ended up getting it. Got her in there now. Alright, so now that everything's cut and ready to go, we can pull the electronics and we're gonna laminate this thing. So stay tuned for the next video. We'll start laminating this wing and we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching.